Whew. Okay. Thank goodness. Like, both times I came in here and I meant to record and I just get excited talking to you guys and I forget to click record twice in a row. Not this time. So, yeah. So basically, this week is relatively like relaxed pace. We're going to talk about like LinkedIn and the professional development profiles in more depth today, and then like talk more about the like projects and next steps. So I've been in contact on the phone today with both Condor's folks as well as the Potty Boss entrepreneur. They're both going to be here on Thursday to talk a little bit about projects. And I've got some next steps for what to do for the sort of other category. If you talk to your...
My brother?
Yeah.
He went incorporated a couple years ago. Does that make a difference? No?
No.
I was looking at it. No, I'm not quite sure if I want to go along those lines, but I'll try to talk to you if I
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So there's a couple other options for the other category, and I'll talk about that like to the extent possible today, and whatever I don't get to today, we'll talk about on Thursday. Biggest thing, yes.
Is there anything besides lectures about this class?
Say again.
Is there any homework, any reading?
Precious little, actually. I mean, the homework is the projects, Say again? I didn't hear you.
Is there any homework, reading, anything?
Well, the homework is really the projects. There's not a lot of reading to do. It's pretty much the lectures. I got some webinars that I put together that over the course of the quarter I want you guys to watch as opposed to reading something. So there is kind of reading to do, but it's more watching a webinar than it is reading a book. Make sense? Yes, no, maybe?
Read, watch
Okay. So no. Otherwise, there's not a lot of homework. It's just the projects. Other questions?
When was the last time you checked your LinkedIn?
The last time I checked my LinkedIn? Probably Sunday. Why?
I sent you a message too, and you didn't respond.
When did you send it?
Last night. I took a little.
Last night?
That I didn't hear back from you.
Last night?
Yeah.
No. I have not checked it since last night.
All
I promise I will respond. It's just
right.
I've been doing outreach for the projects basically to make sure everything's in the homework really, like I was saying, for this project for this class is the projects, and it's different for each project. What's that? Yeah, one project per group. It's hard to hear you, man. Huh? Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, it's really hard to hear for whatever reason. Yeah, so I've generated a bunch of additional response back from the various project people, and I haven't had a chance to respond to everything yet. There's a bunch of stuff in my inbox, so I will, but I haven't yet. Okay, so first thing that I need from everybody is basically your calendars and availability. So each of the projects is going to have different needs and requirements. So most of you in here know at this point what project you told me you wanted to be a part of. There's a couple. Basically, if there's red next to your name on this sign-up sheet, it means that I'm missing something from you. So If there's red in the project column, it means I still need to know which project you want to work on. Options are the edible garden, the condors, Shifty, or now it's called Shout, the not-for-profit group, which is a youth home. Potty Boss, which is the inventor of the children's toilet seat, or it sounds funny, but really she'll be here on Thursday to present. It's really, like, as soon as you see it, anybody who has young kids or like has friends that have young kids will immediately get it. And then other. So that's the options. If you haven't told me what project you want to work on yet, please take a look at this list. I need to know, like, okay, I've got a window of time from here to here on these days, or here to here on these days, and then we'll figure out project meetings and tasks for the project according to that. Okay? So everybody, please email me between now and Thursday, or as soon as you can, with what your availability is to do project work for this class. Yes?
It could be on the weekends too.
Huh?
It could be on the weekends too.
Yeah. I mean, I want you guys to do as much work on these projects as we can. Everybody in here has different lives, has different work schedules, has different routines of other commitments that they have. So yeah, weekends great. If it's during the week, great. Depending on when you're available, there's going to be different tasks that are easier to do. So yeah, whenever it is. Is that okay? Okay. I will hand this out. And get started. Okay, so I started talking about LinkedIn a little bit last time, but we'll talk more in depth about it now. And these are the basic topics that I wanted to go over. We went through, I think I went through a bit of an example about finding contacts at a certain company last time, didn't I? Okay. I'm constantly amazed that how powerful of a networking tool LinkedIn is. So that first point we kind of went over last time, picking up from there, I think the positioning statement that you put into your profile is incredibly important for putting yourself in the right context to people. And depending on what you want to accomplish with small business versus what you want to accomplish with the rest of your career, you may even want to develop two different profiles. You may want to have one small business and entrepreneurial profile, which is a little bit more of a free agent kind of thing, and a second profile which is your sort of day job profile. But the positioning statement at the front really is the key to the whole thing. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The things that you've done normally in your coursework in your undergrad is a lot of times more impressive than what you've done in your actual job. And some of you have even Brent or others that have been Brent and Bryce and others in here who have been like pretty much your full-time job has been being an athlete for this school. So the other skill sets that you developed, like working on projects in this class, working on homework assignments in other classes, are honestly more sort of mainstream professionally interesting than some of the stuff that you've done specialized in swimming or playing basketball. So I really want you guys to write up as much as you can of what you've done in your coursework as if it were a job accomplishment. And then we'll talk a little bit about duties versus accomplishments. Almost everybody that I see, including colleagues my age and my like level in their careers who are trying to move jobs or whatever, like it's constantly the case that people write what they do and they don't write what they accomplished. And most people in this world know what you do if you just tell them what your job title was. What they want to know is how much of it did you do? How much money did you save? How many customers did you talk to? How many reports did you develop in a week? How many pages of edited text did you churn out, depending on what your job description was? Excuse me. So putting metrics with that and quantifying what you've achieved is really, I think, something when I go through you guys' profiles and give you feedback is something that I'm going to want each of you to change and add to. And then it's a small thing, but it's really important. Like, even though I've been crafting my profile and sort of sculpting it like almost like a work of art for 4 or 5 years now, and I'll still look at it and notice like, you know what? Like, I should take the dash out here and make 2 commas instead. Like, that level of like fine polishing. Anytime you have a spelling error or something that's not very clear grammatically or whatever, it sort of puts a dent in your credibility for anybody that happens to look at your profile. So sort of the constant polishing process of making sure that everything is as crisp as possible is important. So with that, let me go back out of the PowerPoint here and go to the LinkedIn page again. So, like we talked a bit about last time, this is what like the editing version of my profile looks like. I don't know how many of you realize this, but if you want to see what your profile looks like to other people when they visit, this View Profile As button right here, you can just click it, and this is what it looks like as if this is what my profile looks like to you guys. And you can do the same thing to see what it looks like to me or what it looks like to anybody else just by clicking that. And then for the public, there's slightly different organization of what I pretty much make everything available. So my public profile doesn't look that much different than the profile that's available to my connections. But some people don't make all their information public, so you can see what things look like if you push that button. The first thing I wanted to focus on here is this summary at the beginning. Like, because I'm a professor and because I'm basically an educator, I'm an author, and I do consulting work of various kinds. Like, that is the entirety of who I am as a professional. So it's like, if you just read my background, you could think I'm a music business guy. You could think that I'm like a serial entrepreneur. You could think that I'm a management consultant. It depends on where you look in my experience, you know? And if I ever left this job and I wanted to go back actively into the music business, I would change this profile to say something more like, international music project manager with over 20 years of experience, and then expertise in advertising, licensing, and new market opening in South America. I mean, I would put stuff in there that is more relevant for me as a music entity as opposed to me as a teacher and author entity. But whatever whatever impression you folks want to give people as to who you are as a professional, are you a small business jack of all trades? Are you a finance professional? Are you a marketing professional? You know, are you an oil sector person? Are you an ag sector person? Are you a sports management person? What is the story you want people to see up front? And just a couple sentences to really set the scene there. Is there before I go on to the next point? Anybody want to volunteer as a guinea pig for me to look at your profile and give a few comments right now? I mean, mine's already sort of polished the way I want it to be. Don't everybody raise your hand at once. Okay. So, I guess, Valenta, in your case, the first thing.
I had never made it before this.
Yeah, no. It's cool. The first thing I would say is, just from the conversation we had before, is the story you want to tell about one of those two entrepreneurial ventures that you and your dad might go into, or is the story you want to tell about sort of your day job? That's the first question.
The day job, maybe.
Okay, so tell me why. I haven't had a chance to read through all of the professional development plans yet. So tell me your day job plans.
Right now, I'm looking through the CC department here in school.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at various jobs around first in Bakersfield, and then maybe expanding California.
Mhm.
If I have to move out of state, I will. I just basically want a job that'll give me a steady income, a good bit.
So
and then maybe go into the business with that I told you about.
and tell me, so if I just look down here,
Yeah.
so supplemental instructor, maintenance, and sales rep. So would you if I just read that right now, I don't know whether you're a management person or a sales and marketing person. You can be both, but honestly, you need to explain that in your summary.
So I have to make a summary?
Yeah,
All right.
you need and honestly, it's different for everybody. But if I just look at what your experience has been, I don't know whether don't know whether you're a teacher, sort of logistics and ops, which is kind of what maintenance says to me, or whether you're a sales guy. And you can be any of those, but I think you should choose which story you want to tell primarily. Excuse me. And you might say, marketing professional with, you say, sales professional with X years of experience. Subsidiary experience with maintenance, logistics, and higher ed instruction. In one paragraph, 4 or 5 sentences, maybe a little more if you need a more complex story, but no more than 1 or 2 paragraphs. I want you to explain to me how it is that experience fits into a coherent story. Make sense? So there's certain parts about my own background that I play down because I don't want people to think of me as a music guy. I want people to think of me as a professor. But I need to explain how that fits. And in my case, everything I did in the music business was an international entrepreneurial venture. It could just as easily have been something in software or high tech. That just happens to be the industry I was working in. But if I wanted to tell a different story, then I have to weave that into the summary. Make sense?
So
to write like a bio in the summary?
Um,
Or just take a lot of our experience and mash it all together to make it sound?
Well, it honestly, it depends on what your goal is. I mean, if Valente's sort of next goal with this profile is that various people that might be hiring him for a day job, as he and his dad start talking about like future entrepreneurial ventures on the side, you know, he wants to be taken seriously as a professional, but you need to sort of tell a story of, here's the main thing I think I am as a professional, but I also have these capabilities. But if you want to tell people instead that you are like, you know,
'Cause
I am
teach
the,
dance.
huh?
I teach dance, but I didn't even put that in my profile because I wanted it to be like professional as far as what I do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in my job. But would that be something that I should put in there? Because I do work with, you know, teenagers.
I definitely think you should put it in there. The question is
Instructor.
just whether you put it in as work experience or you put it in as like hobby volunteer stuff. Whether you get paid for it or not, there's two different places you can put it. I definitely put it in there, and depending on how important it is to your identity as a person, I'd make a little comment about it up front. But is the first thing you want people to know about you that you're a dance instructor, or that you are like ex-professional?
Okay.
I'd start with whichever thing, but honestly, like if I were right now, it doesn't really serve my purposes. I play saxophone, for example, you know, like just not because I used to be in the music business, but just because I love playing the saxophone, and people that know me on a personal level, they know how that's part of my personality and part of my life. What I use LinkedIn for, there's no place that it really belongs. But if I were using LinkedIn in a different way, if I went back into the music business, for example, or if I were using this as a professor, but more like the main thing I use my profile for is like as a representative for you guys. So I want people to think of me as like a clearinghouse for making projects happen, and like telling them about me playing saxophone is a distraction. If I wanted to use this profile to sort of promote myself as an author, or promote myself as an educator, then it kind of adds some color to tell people about my saxophone. Right now, other than the fact that I have sort of street credibility as a professor, I don't want people to think about like my colorfulness as a professor. I want them to think of me as like I put people together with projects. Make sense?
Yep. Perfect.
Any other questions about the summary before I go to next part of this? Okay. Next part is about leveraging educational accomplishments, and I have a specific example here, but let me first go back to my profile again and show you where to input this stuff. So. So this is what the editing mode looks like, and down here you've got a bunch of buttons that like with colorful boxes and like titles next to them. When you first create a profile, if you don't have any volunteering experience, there's going to be a box there that you can click on to click volunteering experience or anything. Originally, you'll have a button here that says projects, okay, and that's what I want you to use to describe what you've done in your various classes. Okay? So I've already created a project. As soon as you create a type of content in LinkedIn, if you add any more of that, you have to go down to where it is. So if we scroll down here for a while, you'll notice projects. For me and for you, once you add one project, to add the next one, you have to go down to the bottom of that and put add project. But if you go in and click Add Project, this is where you're going to be able to talk about the stuff you did in your various classes. So for this class, for example, it's pretty easy because you're actually doing a project which, if you weren't in this class, you'd be getting paid. Like if you were doing this with our Small Business Development Center instead of through this class, you'd be getting paid like $15 an hour to do the project work. It's regular job. And if you were working for one of these small businesses, rather doing this as like a third-party consultant kind of situation, you'd be describing your job. But the stuff you're going to be doing in here is very much just like a regular job. After I describe this one, I'll show you guys another example of taking what basically was a completely academic class and turning it into something that sounds like a work accomplishment. So for this one, you're going to title it something like, small business management, Bakersfield Condors, project, and then you'll notice here for occupation, whenever you type in a project, you can attach it to any job or any educational experience or anything that you've put on your resume that you've done, you can attach it to it. So if I were attaching this to my undergrad degree, I'd go down and click Stanford here, and then it's connected to that degree. And then I usually just put whenever you started working on the project here. It doesn't really matter. You can edit the start and end dates later. So this is going to be August of 2016. And the Condors project basically, together with 7 colleagues, managed outreach, sales, and marketing for a CSUB takeover night with the local Bakersfield American Hockey League team. Sold over 200 tickets, brought in 5 major advertising partners worth who spent a total of $10,000 on advertising in the program, and contributed to concession sales of over $3,000. Period. Something like that. And then when you're done, you're just going to click Save. And if you notice, if I go back up to Education under Stanford, now that shows up here. So and if we go and look at this profile as if it like someone else were viewing it, so somebody scrolls down and they're going to see a little, like for you, for CSUB, they're going to see a little arrow here, and it's going to say, 10 projects or 5 projects. However many you add, it's going to say that. You just click the arrow here. It'll give a little summary of the project, and then if you want to read the entire thing, then you just click View, and it'll bring you to the entire project description. So in that way, you can basically turn your 30 or 40 classes that you've taken here into 30 or 40 jobs worth of experience on your resume. And so even if you haven't really done a job, yes?
Lawyers don't want to see that.
Huh?
Lawyers don't want to see school progress.
Well, I think they do, and I employ people, so. Huh?
I agree with you.
Okay.
Any type of experience really is, why not put it in there?
So, yeah, I disagree. But, okay. In outside of this class or in any other class, you're welcome to not put those projects in. I think it's important, and I'm going to focus on it in this class. So you're going to have a bunch of projects connected to your educational experience. So I'm going to go back and show another one, which is a little bit more. This class is pretty easy to do a project for because it's an actual project that's very much like a job. If you had like I had a software programming class that I took, for example, back at Stanford, or not Stanford, at University of Cincinnati, and really we just spent the whole time like writing a bunch of lines of code and trying to get them to work in Excel. It was assignments where, you know, write code for this specific, like make Excel, like take these things and calculate them and then put them in a report. It was a specific assignment where we do that, we hand it in. It's very much like a homework assignment in a normal class, but you can describe it in a way which sounds more like a job. So if we go back to that one, let me go back to the profile, how it looks to me, and delete this project before I forget. So I've also added in in Blackboard the actual syllabus that I had for this class. I mean, in some cases, you guys may be writing up stuff from classes you took 2 or 3 years ago, and in that case, just go back to the syllabus, take a look at what the homework assignments were, and describe them as if you were getting paid to do it. Would be my suggestion. That's exactly what I couldn't remember anymore when I wrote this up as an example, what the hell I did in this class. So I went back and just looked at the syllabus, and okay, midterm 1, midterm 2, homeworks, and then it describes the homeworks a bit. In the like week by week, and that just sort of jarred my mind, and I remembered, like, we wrote this up, and I went back and looked at one of the assignments that I could still find on my my laptop and just counted the number of lines of code. Like, if it were a test that you took, like there's very little homework in this class, but there is like an exam at the end. It's 30 questions, I think. It's a short answer. Like, you could, rather than saying like I got an A in the class, you can say, you know, participated in a like final exam reviewing major concepts of 8 major concepts of small business management, including web development, patent and trademark, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Achieved a score of 90%. It's not really any different than just describing that you took the test and you got an A, but by listing what the concepts were and describing it as an overview of concept matter in a certain area, believe me, when I look through profiles, that sounds a whole lot more interesting to me when I'm thinking about who I want to hire than just knowing that you had a degree from here. And it's more impressive to me to read that you did that than to know that you were a barista, and that you did it for 2 years, and you showed up to work every day and people were pleased with your responsibility level, but that really doesn't tell me anything about sort of higher level business skills. What tells me more is that you've completed X number of like successful questions about these 8 listed topics. That sounds cool. So that's what I want you to do for the educational project section. Does that make sense to everybody before I move on? Okay. So moving on from there, I think the next topic was duties versus accomplishments. So that's interesting. Why are the last 4? I've never seen that before. Anyway, not important right now. duties versus accomplishments is something I wanted to like talk about here too. There's actually a really nice article that I've given you a link to here. If you go into the slides on Blackboard and just open up this link, it's a very nice description of this. But
If you hold the control button and click on it, it takes you to it.
yeah, I know, but I don't actually want to go to it right now. I just wanted to tell you guys that it's there. I'm going to explain the highlights just in my own voice right now. So if you go back up to my job experience, or actually let me use an example rather than my own profile, who's from somebody who's not Valente. Please. And someone who actually, have you described at least one job in there? Huh? Okay.
I haven't put much in it because I just.
But you have at least some description of your jobs?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name again?
Miriam, Reina.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So conduct business functions for owner's organization. How many business functions?
Too many.
Well, yeah, but what would like what do you mean by business functions?
Well, like for example, setting up the schedule, telling some of the employees what to do, making sure that we have the inventory that we're supposed to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't have the inventory, we can't run the business. So.
What I'd like to hear instead is, conduct responsible for managing 10 major business functions, 5, I don't know. Make a list.
Okay.
Do a brain dump from your head, like you just did to me. What are all the major things that you have to do every day?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me a number. And then list some of the highlights. Which of the ones you're most proud of? The managing people part, the inventory part. I wouldn't list all 8. I'd say, responsible for managing 8 major business functions, including X, Y, and Z.
Contacting people from Korea, Japan, and stuff, so that we can get inventory. So suppliers.
Mm-hmm. So I just mentioned a couple highlights there. If I just go to the next point here, excellent customer service for customers and suppliers. How many customers? How many suppliers?
All of Amazon, eBay.
Yeah, but I mean, do a brain dump to yourself of how many customers you interact with on an average day, or an average week.
100 suppliers.
Huh?
100 suppliers.
Yeah, hundreds of instead of just suppliers. Make sense? Try and add concrete numbers, either the number of people, the number of dollars, the amount of time spent, the number of reports generated, the number of items of inventory, the value of that inventory in dollar terms. Translate this to your own work experience, but please put numbers with it as much as possible. That's much more impressive than just, not that I don't like what you wrote, but I know what an operations manager does. I know what an average operations manager does. I want to know concretely, specifically, what was impressive about what you did. Make sense? Okay. Any other questions about that part? Okay. Finally, I'm not going to go through too much on the polish part, but I'm not going to go through an example on this one, but just please double and triple check your spelling, grammar, everything. We live in a digital information world where individual characters and words and sentences and paragraphs and entire books and entire databases are cheap. There's a whole lot of information out there, and kind of seems like I've got to get volume of information up here so everybody knows that, and who cares if there's a couple spelling errors, but I promise you, someone will see it, and it will tank your credibility if they happen to notice that rather than the other 20 things that are good about the profile. So anytime you catch something or you can polish it and make it better, really makes your whole profile better. So that is the lion's share of what I wanted to go over about LinkedIn. I tend to do this in every single one of my classes just because, whether this is small business management or it's my senior capstone in business strategy or it's entrepreneurship or any other class, if I taught basket weaving, I'd do the same thing on this campus. Like, you're paying money to like get certain educational value out of these classes and get hired for a job in whatever industry you want to go into that pays you more than you were making before, and preferably pays you more over the course of time than you paid for the tuition for this class. Otherwise, it wasn't a very good investment. So anything I do in these classes, I'm constantly thinking about how are you presenting yourself to people for a job. So honestly, a lot of this stuff is stuff that our Career Center does do. They don't do it in quite the depth that I do, and they don't link it to the class because they can't. They don't teach the class like I do. But this may seem a bit off topic from small business management, but every class I teach, this is one of the things I do first, because how you present what you did in this class to employers, to networking contacts and so forth after this class is in many ways more important to me than what you actually learned and did in this class, because how you present it in your LinkedIn profile a year or two from now is going to be what people remember, not what we're doing in these next couple of months. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about LinkedIn. Any questions on that before I go on to the professional development plan a little bit? Okay. So you've all kind of filled out this template already. Let me talk a little bit more in detail about why I had you fill it out. And if there's any additional feedback or additional comments you wanted to make to me for the plan after I go through all this, then please just send me an update whenever you get around to doing it. And over the course of the next month or so, I will give everybody feedback on your goals and what I think you should do to get there. So at a baseline level, I asked you, like, what's your job today? How much money to make? What do you want to do after? How much money do you want to make there? And what's your dream in life, basically? And to me, like, those are the three major questions that I need to know in order to figure out how I can best tailor this class so that it helps you get to where you want to go. And I ask in particular about the money side of things because the reality is that unless you all like already are working for a small business and you're taking the skill set in this class and applying it directly to that job, or you're taking these skills and applying them, like in intrapreneurship or something inside of a larger company. If you want to go and find small business work, or you want to start your own small business or take over a family business or whatever, you're going to have to, like, there's a finite amount of time, money, and energy that any human being has in their lives. And at some point, you're going to have to sacrifice earning power in order to put in the time and energy to find that venture or to build that venture when it's not immediately making money for you. And same thing goes for prospecting for a new job. If you are working in one industry and you'd really like to, you're working in petroleum, but really you'd like to work in the entertainment business or whatever, like, if you want to transfer from one profession to another, that also takes time and energy. And, like, I wish someone had told me, like, when I was doing my undergrad, like, Jeremy, you're going to run into a wall after you get done with the, like, Fulbright year. You're going to have no money. You're going to end up wasting, like, half a year waiting tables, and then you're going to waste another, like, year and a half having a lot of fun working on, like, a startup with your dad, but really, like, you could have, that was never your goal in the first place, and I just did it because I had to make some kind of money to pay the bills. And if I had just realized ahead of time, crap, I need to, like, find this much job here, and I need to do it by this date so that I have 6 months to do networking to find the job that I really wanted. somebody had just pointed that out to me sooner, I would have been a lot better off. So I asked these questions to really to read through, and if I see that anybody seems to be heading for a brick wall compared to what your goals are, I wanted to point it out to you because I wish somebody would have pointed it out to me. So the mid-range goals are really about your next steps. Long-range goals, I'm going to go through a couple of slides here that that I think are going to be helpful and valuable for you guys, depending, no matter what direction you want to go with your medium and long-term goals. So, like in case you didn't put a lot of thought into what your goal is after graduation, some of you put a lot of thought into it. Some of you gave me a gut answer, but it wasn't a whole lot. There's a relatively short list of like possibilities. You could either earn more money in your current job. You can move to a new job in the same company, which sometimes is what you need to do to earn more money in the company. You could find a new job in the same industry. So if you like being in the ag sector, but you'd rather be like managing logistics in like pistachio business rather than managing like field logistics in root crops, like that might be a legitimate next goal from where you are right now. Sometimes it's a new job in a different industry. So if you're working in like an office support role in the petroleum business right now, and what you'd really like to be doing is working for Disney as like a marketing person, that is a legitimate change too. And then there's always grad school, and I want to make a brief comment about internships and volunteer opportunities. Did I tell you guys the story about Artist Direct? Okay, I didn't think so, but there's a few of these things that are also woven into another one of the lecture slides. So the job that I had between first and second year of my MBA was at a music internet company called Artist Direct. And like my whole MBA, I wanted to be music business like entrepreneur. That's what I focused on for the whole thing. But I also wanted to get paid. And I had a lot of, like, I left what to me was a pretty good paying job with Price Waterhouse in order to come back and do the MBA. A lot of my colleagues were like going to Wall Street for the summer, and they're making like 70, 80, the equivalent of 70, 80 annually just for their summer job. And I'm working for $5 an hour, and I was pissed. I was pissed that I was only making $5 an hour. But honestly, I was working $5 and I was getting $5 an hour doing like stuff on the internet side of that company. Bless you. And the owner of the company was a guy named Mark Geiger, who basically was the manager for the Beastie Boys. He's one of the like founders of Lollapalooza. He's an amazingly accomplished music agent, and he took his agency from William Morris and took it out independent, and then built the rest of this website, which basically sold merchandise from the artists and built it around his agency. And if I had been willing to work for free, if I had been willing to just get coffee for people and make copies and do completely mindless crap for nothing, I would have gotten to know backstage like all the managers and contacts from Blink-182, from at that time Robbie Williams, Backstreet Boys. They actually worked with the Stones. They worked with Marilyn Manson at that time. Beastie Boys. It's a like who's who of like successful mainstream rock in the 90s. And all I would have had to do was work for free for a month, and I'd probably be like a big, powerful agent at William Morris right now rather than teaching this class. But I had to get paid, and I was too proud. I was already pissed that I wasn't making Wall Street money, and I was too proud to work for free and make copies and get coffee. If I had, that venture eventually folded, but Mark took his agency back to William Morris again, and he's actually the head of the entire music division of William Morris right now, which is one of the three main talent agencies in the whole world. He's one of the most powerful dudes in Hollywood, and I probably could have been his sidekick if I had just done that. So when you're all thinking about what to do next, don't poo-poo volunteer work. Don't poo-poo stuff you could do for free, because especially if you're trying to transition into an industry or a job that's really hard to get into, that's the way to get your foot in the door. So any of those options could be a valid option for what you want to do next. And some of you put more thought into this than others, so if you want to think about it again, I wanted to give you a sort of a longer brainstorming list of options for what you could do next, just to prompt yourself whether you're actually targeting what you wanted to do after graduation. And then on the money side of things, I know this may seem like sort of personal finance or household finance 101, but I never planned on this stuff when I was an undergrad, and honestly, like my finances got more and more and more in debt for like the better part of the first 20 years of my career before I like got finances in my career straightened out. Don't do that. It's a really, really wasteful way of spending the first 20 years of your adult professional life. And if you don't have every single one of the things on this list planned for in your budget, you should. So I just kind of put it there as a challenge to you. Do you have each of these things in your budget? And I'm going to point out in particular 20% savings and rainy day funds. I am really lucky right now that I have a great pension plan from Cal State, because otherwise I would have nothing. Like, I didn't have any retirement savings. I had nothing for the first, I had great times starting businesses, had some great adventures. If that equity would have worked out, then it would have been great, but it didn't. So I know it seems like a long, long way away when you retire, but my dad, I am bankrolling everything in my dad's life right now because he didn't do that, and he has nothing at this point, and he can't earn anymore. He's kind of toast, and he had no long-term care insurance, he had no life insurance, he had no nothing. So, you don't want to get to that point, especially if you don't have kids that want to take care of you, because then you're just screwed and you'll be living in a box. Or you'll be living in a really, really depressing group home that's payable by Medicaid and or Medi-Cal in this state, and you don't want to go there. I promise you, you really don't. It's inhumane. So plan on savings, because you're going to need it, and you really want to be saving about 20% of your income. And the second one I want to point your attention to is rainy day funds. I like to use this metaphor, so any of you in my other class have already heard this, but you never know when your little rebel cruiser is going to be overtaken by an Imperial Star Destroyer, and you need to jettison the droids with the plans fast. And if you don't have any escape pods, then Darth Vader's getting those plans. So there have been times in my life where I did not have cash just sitting available in case I needed to get out of town. And sometimes things break down. Life will knock you around over the course of your lives, and you're at least once, if hopefully only once, but maybe 3, 4, 5 times, you're just going to get screwed over at some point, and you didn't see it coming, and all of a sudden, you don't have the job and the stability or anything you thought you did. And if you don't have some rainy day money that you can access and live on for 3, 4, 6, preferably 18 months, then you're going to end up making bad decisions. You're going to end up doing jobs that don't pay enough. You're going to be working long hours. You're going to be putting off all the stuff that you wanted to be doing just so you can pay the bills, and it'll take you years to do a transition which should have taken months. So it's very important to have some cash stashed away just in money markets or just in a savings account that you can access. Not your retirement fund, a separate just cash fund that if you ever show up to work tomorrow and find out that you don't have a job anymore, that you have something to like lean on so that you can pivot and start networking and get yourself back on your feet. Because if not, you're going to be in a world of hurt, and it's going to take you a couple of years to get back to where you needed to be. So if you don't have those things in your budget, I highly recommend that you find a way to work them in. And if you're going to be getting a job after graduation that doesn't pay you enough to bring in all that stuff, then reconsider the salary that you're looking for. Or reconsider whether you're going to stay in that job for 1 year versus 5 years. Because if it's not paying for all those things, it's not enough, and you're going to regret having stayed in that job for 5 years. So this is here again as like a challenge to you to think about whether you have these areas covered. I'm going to point out how many people in here are familiar with using RunnerLink. Okay, yeah, surprisingly few. I want to make sure, like, if everybody had raised their hands, I'd move right on. But actually, we have a lot of like resources for networking. We have a lot of people that are actually hiring on this campus, and many students don't even know that it's there. So far be it from me for you not to know. If you just go to this PowerPoint and open up the link in here, it'll take you to where you need to go. I'm going to open up my link because I need to go in through a different like entry point. But basically, here, insert, hyperlink, copy. Okay. Okay, so there's a whole lot, there's various stuff in here. I just want to point your attention to a couple things. So if you just click on the link for students, it'll take you to a place where you log in with your username and your ID. And then I want to point out here, employer directory. If you select any of these different areas, it'll tell you every employer that has ever recruited on our campus in that sector. If you just want to see the whole shebang and you don't care about whether it's aerospace versus ag, just don't put anything in the box here. Don't click any of these and just click on search. And that'll actually give you the 1,857 businesses that our Career Center has a contact point at. So if you like any of these names, contact Markel Quarles or someone else at our Career Center and ask them, you know, is ADP actively recruiting right now? Well, if they're not, can you please tell me who the contact point was so I can see if they have any jobs open right now? It's a good networking resource that a lot of students don't know is there. So that's first thing. Second thing, same thing for the job search. If you want to see stuff that is in a particular sector, just put it there. If you want to see every job that is currently being hired for on this campus, like if you need a job now and you don't know what it's going to be yet, just click search and you'll see there's actually 312 different jobs that are actively being recruited for and hired for on this campus right now. And they're all listed right there. So sales and ops, this is actually a confidential one here for that CSUB is doing. Lotus, the city of Fresno, records, yeah, all of this. You got the whole description there. These are jobs that actually need, like these are 312 companies that actually want to pay someone in this room money if you don't already have a job lined up after graduation. So a lot of students don't know that's there, and I just want to make sure to point it out so that you know it's there. Any questions about that? Okay. Moving on.
You'd also use Indeed.com.
What's that?
Indeed.com.
Oh no, Indeed's great. These are 312 jobs specifically for Cal State students that you guys have an inside track on, and a lot of people just don't even know it's there. When I was an undergrad, I didn't realize just how much like low-hanging fruit there was. I probably would never have ended up working for my dad. As much fun as I had, and my dad and I did a lot to build that company, I would have taken a better job that paid more if I had just not been so ignorant of the resources that my own Career Center had, you know? So moving on from that, for those of you For those of you who don't really know what you want to be when you grow up, I highly recommend this book, What Color is Your Parachute? Amazingly, there's not a digital version of it yet, but they've been updating it for 20 years now. I gave you a link to Amazon for the most recent edition. There's all kinds of exercises to fill out, like activities that you like to do, ways that you like to spend time with friends, the stuff that makes you happy in life. And all these different exercises, and then based on how you answered the questions, it'll tell you the kind of job that you would you'd be most happy in. And I filled this out 20 years ago, right after I graduated from 23 years ago, right after undergrad, and it said I should be a university professor. And this is the best job. This is the best job in the world. It's such flexible hours. I get to hang out and tell stories with you guys. I get to work on meaningful projects when we start to get into the actual project work. I love this job. And if I had just followed what that said 23 years ago, I'd be making a hell of a lot more money as a professor right now. And I'd have even less classes to teach and even more free time. I should have just listened to what it said. So any of you who would like to test, what is it that I really should be doing? What's my calling in life? It's a great book. It's really, really useful for figuring out whether you're on the right track in your career or not. Just two other slides quick, and I got 3 left, but there's only 2 I want to go over. For the long-term money section of your professional development plan, I encourage everyone in here to dream big, and then let's make the plans happen to actually make it happen. So, I spent a whole decade of my life in Germany and Brazil. I miss my friends and my associates in Germany and Brazil. No matter what. Yes?
Did you put that Portuguese?
Yeah. Follow. But no matter where I live, there's going to be 2 other continents that I'm not on that I wish I could be in. So having a big travel budget and then the entertainment budget to surround that travel is something that was important to me for a long time. And I counted up just how many people I want to go visit and just how much it's going to cost realistically, and that's the numbers. That's pretty close to what I spend on entertainment and travel right now. And if I hadn't planned ahead on it, that's a huge chunk of my annual budget. So, if you plan ahead and if you just count up all the things that you want to do travel-wise, you can figure out how much it is. And if I have a salary which does not cover the other things in that list and still leave $30,000 left over for those activities, it's not quite. Right now, I'm probably burning more like 10 to 15 on entertainment and 5 to 10 on travel. It's not quite where I want it to be, but I know what it should be in order to be able to see all my friends, and that's what it should be, because I added it up. And I encourage you to do the same thing. If you want to live on 3 continents, count it up. Go do the math on how much the hotel's going to cost, how many times you can realistically stay with friends versus having to stay in a hotel. What are the ticket prices? How much are you going to end up spending on food? Count it up. I added a couple other examples here just to give you a ballpark idea. A lot of people in here want to buy a house. It's not hard to do, but you do need a down payment, which depending on the size of depending on the house and the other credit situation, just I don't know, think about 5 to 10%. You're probably gonna need more than that, but just if you're able to put together the rest of the finances properly, average housing prices, thankfully, in the Bakersfield area for a relatively nice place are around $200K. So you need about 20 grand to plunk down. Probably need more, but just as a baseline, if you put away $1,000 a month in a little less than 2 years, you have 20 grand and you can purchase a house. If you don't, you won't. So it's not very hard. We're talking about tens of thousands that you're going to need to buy a house, not hundreds of thousands. And if you plan in your budget to put that away, you'll have it before you know it. Taking care of your parents, which is something I'm dealing with a lot myself right now. You know, it's basically, it's going to end up running me like 10 to 15 grand a year probably, long term, to take care of my dad. If you plan ahead better, if I had realized just how like screwed he was, I would have taken out some more long-term care insurance out on him sooner, so that my costs would be lower right now. But it's easy to calculate what care expenses are going to be for your parents, and easy to figure out with them. Sometimes it's easier than others to talk with them about this stuff, but it's relatively doable to find out what coverage they have and they don't. And you can count up how much you're going to need over the course of their lifetime. You can go out there and look at what various health issues they might have are going to end up costing. It's not hard to do. The last two, I think a lot of people who have entrepreneurial ambition, they want to be a millionaire. Not hard, actually. Like, if you put, excuse me, if you put away between 20 and 25 grand per year for 20 years, and you're getting decent interest return on it, you'll be a millionaire. You'll have $1 million in the bank if you take 20 to 25 grand a year and you put it in the right investments every year. So that's a lot of money if you're not making enough to be able to put aside 20. But 20 grand is not that much. If you really want to be a millionaire, all you got to do is put 20 to 25 away for about 20 to 25 years and get decent interest on it, and you're a millionaire. Poof. And at this time in your lives, well before you retire. Like, excuse me, if I stay in this job 20 years, that's about what my pension will end up like generating for like the rest of my available life, depending on how long I live. But I'm lucky to get that pension plan. It's not hard if you plan ahead in your savings to put that kind of money away, especially maybe 5 years out after you've gotten a little bit better paying job. And then finally, I personally, since I travel so much, have always wanted to have a Learjet. And like originally, I was listing these in order from cheapest to most expensive, and I actually thought like Learjet would come before becoming a millionaire. But it's easy to be a millionaire compared to like having a Learjet. A Learjet costs like 30, 50 million if you wanted to buy one. But I actually wasn't that ambitious. I just wanted a timeshare. You guys heard of NetJets? Anybody?
There's something that's based out of San Francisco here for California.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's like a monthly membership. I think it's like $500 a month, and you can fly here in California. They're like for business people that are back and forth, as you say, from San Diego to San Francisco, Sacramento, LA, and all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's super cool
There's-
because they're smaller jets.
There's cheaper options if it's more localized.
Yeah.
If you want to have 1/16 share in a NetJet, so more or less 12, call it 112 for easy numbers. If you want to have 1 month's worth of that jet at your disposal to go anywhere in the world, I think it's 500 grand just to buy like your one-time membership fee, and then it's about 100 a year to keep your spot on the jet. The only, like, I'd love to have that. As soon as I counted up the numbers, I realized the only way that's ever going to happen is if I'm bringing in, like, I make a little over 6 figures in this job. I'd have to be bringing in 200 in, like, side income from consulting and publishing if I want a freaking Learjet. Like, this job covers my baseline expenses in life. If I want a Learjet, I need to build a consulting practice outside of here that brings in about 200 grand a year. That's the only way I could ever have a Learjet. I may not be able to have one, but at least I know what it would take to make that happen. And I encourage all of you to do the same thing with whatever you want to do on your long-term goals. And the more outrageous, the better. I'm glad we have a semester now instead of a quarter because I've got more time to give you my feedback on accomplishing some of these things between now and the time the class is over. But if any of you want to add to what you sent me in your professional development plan, go ahead, add more outrageous stuff. I'm happy to help brainstorm on it. And then finally, like, I want to end with another point about the rule of 10. I think I had this as the last slide in my intro presentation too, didn't I? Or not? You guys remember? Look familiar? I'll just say again, if you want anything good to happen in this world, whether you're trying to get your business to work and you need a new customer, or you're trying to find a new job, whatever, you need 10 irons in the fire for every one that's going to work out. And that's like, there's not a whole lot of things that I believe in, like, without fail in what I've learned in business over the course of the years, but that's one of them. If you have 10 options for the way something's going to happen, one of them's going to work out. If you only have 5, I don't know, maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. If you got 20, you probably don't need 20, but 10 to 1 is usually the ratio for anything to work out. And especially with respect to network building, the last couple points here, because another thing that I want to do, once I know what your long-term goals are, one of the things I like to do in this class is refer you to contacts that I know that can help you get to where you want to get to. And like, I can refer you to a couple people, but you can do a lot more for yourselves than the 1 or 2 referrals that I can make for you. And when you're going out and sort of pounding the pavement to get to know new networking contacts, first of all, there's a hell of a lot that you can find out about somebody without ever talking to them on the phone. You can use Experian credit, or you can pull the Experian credit report of pretty much anybody, or like, it's not everything, but the basic information on any business in the world. We can do it in this class. We can do it right now on ProQuest. We'll just pull up the Experian report on that small business across the street, whatever that you want to work for, and that'll tell you what their revenues are, their basic liquidity. It'll tell you the names of the principal owners. It'll tell you how many employees they have. You don't have to ask them those questions when you finally talk to them.
There's a pretty cool app out there. I can't remember what it is, but there's a pretty cool app. You can put any business name, I mean the smallest business name, the biggest, and everything is just there and available to you.
And especially larger companies, there's all kinds of stuff that you don't ever have to waste precious face-to-face time asking somebody about. You can get down to business. And the last thing I would say is document everything. Like, there's a guy that I'm really close with now that like does guest lectures for a lot of my small business and he actually even more my business strategy class. But he was one of the principals of the largest PR firm in Indianapolis. And back when I was running my former company that I had before I went back to do the PhD and become a professor, I had a client who wanted to like get in with this company, and my job was to make cold calls and call people until I get an in. And so I called, and Eric was, I got Eric's secretary, and she said, he's not here right now. You want his voicemail? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Give me his voicemail. And it says on the voicemail, hey, this is Eric. I'm on vacation. It may take me a while to get back to you, but leave me a message. I'll get back to you when I can. And then when I finally called him, then I made a note to myself, Eric's on vacation. So I called him back a month later, and I may have called 2 more times before I found him, but once I did, I asked how his vacation was. It may seem like corny, but like that's all I got to go on right now is that he was on vacation, and he said it on his voicemail. So that started up a conversation, and he's a great contact for me today. So no piece of information is too small. Whatever it is that you glean trying to find somebody, write it down, keep track of it, because you may be able to use it later. And that's pretty much my lecture on LinkedIn and professional development plans. Please, everybody, between now and Thursday, send me your availability for the projects. And then next steps are going to be different for each project, but Edible Garden has got some stuff coming up pretty soon that we need to do. The condors, we got a little bit more lead time, but there's going to be specific time slots that I need things for, and then same thing for Potty Boss and the other projects. So just let me know your availability, and you won't be unless you're impressed with her presentation on Thursday. You're not stuck. You can do another project, but I think you're going to like it. And where's my sign-up sheet, by the way? Thank you.
My name is not Steve, so.
Wait, everybody. I almost forgot. Which one is you?
I'm
And what about Abdullah Nasser? Okay, make sure to write your emails down on here. I need to email you guys. I noticed you were on the last sheet too, weren't you? Yeah, I didn't.
Isn't our email already
Yeah, you were on the last one too, but I didn't have write your email down there. Okay. Sorry.
Isn't our email already down?
Huh?
Isn't our email already down?
You didn't
Is what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just you can check to make sure yours is correct,
I see.
but they were added to the class, so I didn't have anyone to contact them.
So LinkedIn was always like, not always, but it was like resume status. You know what I mean? Like just the pointers, you know, like this and this. So, so right now I'm having a hard time elaborating like you were doing. So I don't know if you could get a chance to go through it and send me like notes on all the stuff that I have on there. So.
That's what I'm going to do, but I have like 140 students across my 3 sections, 3 classes, so it's going to take a little while until I get to that, but I will. That's exactly, the 65 points that you get for the rest of your, I think, yeah, the 100 points that you get 25 just for sending me your link, and then the rest of the 100, I'm going to go through and I'm going to tell you, add this, add this, add this. I'll do little markups. I'll send it to you in a PDF document with little yellow sticky notes, and then as soon as you make those edits, I give you the rest of the 100 points. So I will, but it may take me until next month. Okay? But I will definitely give you the tips.
I'm in your entrepreneur blog,
Yep.
and
I know. You just added it, right?
Yeah. Can I send you my
The same thing for both? Yes.
Thank you.
No problem.
The PDP. I don't think I got that email. Or...
Where's my sign? Which one are you?
Richard Gomez.
Okay, Richard. Let me make a note here quick. Is this the correct email for you? rgomez18 at CSUB?
Is that the one we're supposed to?
Well,
you send the
that's what I sent it to. That's probably why you didn't get it.
Oh, okay. I'll check that one then. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, so I tell you what, check that one. If you don't see the email that I sent,
Okay.
email me. You have my email, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you don't find it, email me and tell me what email to send it to.
Okay.
But that's probably why you didn't find it, because I sent it to this email address.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect. Thank
Cool.
you. Appreciate it.
This might be helpful. I'll do that with you. Have a good
Okay.
night.
Thanks. Hey, interesting. Thank you. Hello? Oh, I'm so glad that's the way it is.